Hey there, it's time for another confirmation video. This time it's confirmation video number 800 Bible story video number 8, and we're talking about Genesis 6 through 9. So 6, 7, 8, and 9, four full chapters. So I told you last video that we were going to start going through more than one chapter at a time, and sure enough, here it is. So the stuff that I promise actually does happen, at least most of the time. Today we're talking about the flood and we're talking about Noah. And the story of the flood is a story that shows the concepts of law and gospel. And I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt today, so I can't show you today. But I actually have those words tattooed on my arms. It's that important. So I have the word law tattooed on my left arm, and I have the word gospel tattooed on my right arm. That's not telling you that you should go out and get a tattoo. It's just telling you how important this stuff is. And so law is this concept that God has created the world and he's ordered the world and he's put this world together in a way that is so perfect, and he is so perfect, and that he asks us, well, not even asks us, he commands us as his creation, as the people that are created by his hands, by his words, that we would be perfect also. Jesus talks about that when he is talking to his disciples, and he says, you should be perfect even as the Lord your God is perfect, which he's quoting from a biblical book called Leviticus there, and saying, be perfect even as I am perfect. And that is what's put on us. We're supposed to be perfect, but we're not. And because of that, we have to suffer the effects of breaking the law. And the effects of breaking the law, Romans tells us, is death, that we deserve to die because we break the law, because we're unrighteous. Unrighteous simply means that we're not perfect. It means that we're not even really kind of good. You might think, well, hey, I'm pretty good, but you're not perfectly good. And that is what God commands of us. He says, I made you perfect. You should be perfect. But because of original sin, because of what happened with Adam and Eve, we are doomed to break the law. And so we need this other thing. We need this thing called gospel. And gospel is kind of this big category that encompasses God's mercy and God's grace, the good things that God does, and says, hey, I'm going to have you be a part of my kingdom anyway. I am going to send my son in order to die on the cross for you. And here in the story of the flood, that plays out in the concept of the law, where God says, man, everybody on earth is evil, just like flat out evil. It's been so long since Adam and Eve have died, and things have just been getting worse and worse and worse. And God is really sort of playing with the idea of, hey, I'm just going to take it all down. I'm going to kill everybody. Yet there is this person named Noah. Now, the important thing about Noah is that it says he walks with God. And that's really all that we can do. We can't be perfect. Noah wasn't perfect. In fact, if you read a little bit later in Genesis here, you find out exactly how not perfect he is. He is not a perfect person, but he walks with God. And that's what God wants us to do. Walking with God is simply having faith in him. It's simply saying, hey, I'm going to walk alongside of you. I am going to go where you lead. And so you have God saying, okay, hey, here is my law. This is the perfection that I require. And he's saying to Noah, and here's the gospel. And I'm going to give the gospel to people who are willing to walk with me. And really all that we can do when God gives us the gospel is reject it. And Noah simply doesn't reject it. But so many of the other people reject what's happening when God is coming to Noah. And so this is really a scary story. I know that this ends up on nursery walls. I know that this ends up in really cutesy kid stories, but this is a frightening story. This is a story where the entire earth basically dies except for Noah and his family and the animals that he brings on the ark. And so God says, hey, I'm going to save this remnant. I'm going to save this bunch of people. And these people are going to be the people that receive the gospel. And they're going to receive my love, my mercy. They're going to receive my rescue. which is what God is all about throughout the Bible. The Bible is one big story of God rescuing all of humanity. And in order to tell a story of rescue, you have to have the thing that you're being rescued from, which is the scary story here. And the scary story is the flood, a big flood that comes and it washes away everybody and kills so many people and so many animals. And it's really a sad story, which is how we should feel when we think about all of the people that don't know Jesus and don't have faith in Jesus. And we should be sad about these things. This is not a good thing. And this story of the flood is also kind of it's a picture of baptism. In fact, when we baptize people, a lot of times we'll reference this story. We'll say, as you saved faithful Noah and all of his family, so too save us. And the flood is a picture of baptism in two ways. Baptism kind of does two things. The first thing that baptism does is a law thing. It puts us to death. And just like all of those people, it put them to death. And yet it puts us to death in a way that prepares us to be risen again. And so it's a water grave. That's what the picture of baptism is supposed to be. It's supposed to be us drowning and drowning the sinful part of us, drowning the original sin part of us, drowning what is called the old Adam, and then raising to life this new righteous person that is going to walk with God. And that's what the story of the flood is really all about. It's this story of law, which is scary, it's frightening, it's the expectation of perfection that comes from God. But it's also gospel. It's also God's rescue. It's also God's mercy. It's also God's love for us. And so, if you're taking this for credit and you need to answer my two questions, here are my two questions for you that I want to see you put down in the comments below. And that is question number one: how many days was water on the earth? It says it in the story there, so just put there, how many days was there water on the earth? And then question number two: what is the first thing that Noah does when he gets off the boat, when he gets off the ark? What is the first thing that he does? Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.